Hello and welcome to TRS Media's live show about WandaVision and all things WandaVision. We're doing things slightly different this week. We are going to recap last week's because we've had time to let it stew, mull over in our minds and fester, and we've had lots of different thoughts. And then we're going to do a quick prediction of what we expect.
And also because we don't want to compete with all of the higher, bigger, better YouTube channels.
And get lost in the ether. Yes, and then we're gonna then we're gonna then we're gonna give you our thoughts about what potentially we think is gonna happen,
Which is basically just the theory crafting segment
yeah.
of each episode. But this is actually our live reaction to episode 7 of WandaVision, which I don't know what it's called.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Breaking the fourth wall, that's the one. I wrote down all the notes, I forgot to write that down.
Forgot to
We're
write
professionals, guys.
Yeah.
I mention this every time.
Yes, so without further ado, Michael, I will throw it over to you and give me your overall thoughts on the show first, on the episode even.
Okay, so I've been worrying for quite a bit, which is strange that I worry because I'm still entertained immensely by the show. But I was worrying for quite a little bit there, 3 episodes in a row, that they were getting really lazy with the storytelling. But I understand the stuff going on outside the Hex isn't the interesting stuff. What's going on inside the Hex is the interesting stuff. See, I could care less about the Hayward side plot. I'm not as in on Monica Rambeau's character as most people are.
Maybe when I tell you what I think when
So-
I theorycraft Hayward.
So, well, anyway, but that being said, this episode didn't really follow through with that. It was still fed by the laziness of the previous episode with the whole Darcy is now a hacker out of nowhere. But once we just were like, don't worry about that. It's good.
I still think that's hilarious, Darcy the hacker.
Oh man, our viewer just fucking was like,
It's
oh,
like,
fucking bail.
I don't
Not
like
watching
the way-
this shit. Okay. So yeah, it didn't follow through on the laziness of the previous episodes with the plot moving elements going on outside the Hex. So I was happy that didn't happen, and as a result, I was allowed to finally just enjoy again without worrying about that. So this episode is very much enjoyable from the whole WandaVision, what we expect from WandaVision point of view. As far as any developments, you can't really talk about it until we get to spoilers, because I guess you can say like everything that we expected happened, but then everything that we expected didn't happen. It just makes me convinced that Kevin Feige is Mephisto.
Well,
He's an evil genius.
Okay,
But but overall, very good. This was the funniest episode. I really enjoyed
hands down.
Vision and Darcy. I thought they
the
had...
office style of the show is definitely.
Yeah, and what was you said the intro was an homage also to...
I think it's called Happy Fridays. It's a Russo brothers show that they did before they came on.
See, I know The Office. I love The Office. I watched The Office. So when I heard that music and I saw the whole mockumentary style thing going on, immediately I was like, all right, they're going to be referencing The Office throughout this episode.
The Office, though, it shows you like driving through Scranton or Slough, depending on which one you watch, and it shows.
Well, it's just it's establishing shots of everything in
whereas
Scranton.
this one is literally just Wanda, and that's how the show that the Russos did. It was happy something, happy. It's all
Sure.
the same world. But my overall thoughts of the show, of the episode, even was
Breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I loved, obviously, the way that Kevin Feige sets stuff up and gets everybody talking about it, and then literally goes, "You were all wrong."
But we were all right as well.
But then again, he also masterfully does the exact opposite, whereas everybody's theories were right.
It's as I said. It's not everybody's theories were right. The way I put it makes it like
my thought on the humor. I loved the humor. I was never a big fan of the American Office because it was just a poor imitation of the.
No, that means you haven't given it a chance. It's good. It stands on its own. It really does.
Yep.
The first season obviously feels like it's trying hard to mimic the British Office, but it becomes its own thing. It really does.
Maybe.
But we're not talking about the Office.
Yeah. So that style of the show was funny. I thought everything with Vision and Darcy was funny, and the humor was good as well. As for the stuff outside the Hex, obviously that's not the main point of the show, but it is definitely needed for us to see how this is affecting everybody else. I have a theory on Hayward that will blow your mind, which we'll come on to at the end of the show. But that whole section with the Monica Rambeau and Jimmy going to get her back into the game, as she said at the previous episode, I liked all that, but I felt it was kind of pointless. But then we ramped up to the ending. I would say we had the rug pulled from under us, but it was more like the rug was pulled from under us. We were then wrapped up in it and then beaten with a stick. It was like so in your face, more in your face than any other thing I've seen Marvel about what's going on with the plot. But apart from that, I enjoyed it overall. It was way more interesting than the last 2 episodes.
I think you're losing the plot.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get on to spoilers. Let's go through this episode bit by bit, and we'll tell you what we've thought.
All right, so the title of the episode is Breaking the Fourth Wall.
Breaking the Fourth Wall.
And we begin... So we've already talked about the office-style intro, but we're introduced to Wanda, now seemingly the day after the Halloween episode. She's laying in bed, giving us the whole... mother dealing with depression, not wanting to wake up, not wanting to get out and face the kids, face the husband style cliche. She's in bed beneath a duvet cover with hexagons on it, which is like, no, this show's no stranger to all the hexagon imagery, so make of that what you will. But she's also being interviewed office style. Like I say, we're really leaning into this whole mockumentary thing, and she's apparently punishing herself. She's which is, like I say, kind of draws into the whole depressed mum cliche, and so she's punishing herself for, quote, intentionally expanding the hex.
She says the word intentionally expanding.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt there that she knows what she's done to save Vision.
So all I have to say of that is that it's, again, very... There's not a lot of information there.
No, but what I think
there's a lot of reading between the lines, perhaps.
What I think it does do is, because at the same time that we're hearing this from her, we see the kids downstairs and their gaming consoles basically travel back in time until they're playing Uno.
Well, it's quite heavily referenced throughout the episode that she's losing control
and that,
of
to
the
me,
reality
though,
inside the hex.
Is showing that she's losing control of what's going on in the hex due to her mental state at the time. Like at the end of the last episode, when Vision was in trouble, she switched it back on, and boom, the hex expanded. So she was definitely in control at that point. But now, because she's feeling melancholy, like you say, suffering in the morning, that she just don't want to get out of bed, it's kind of like her concentration's not there to hold that shit together.
Mm-hmm.
So...
But I mean, like going on to the way that it's portrayed, though, is like I say, we know as when we were kids, when we just wanted, we were up early before mum and dad were up, and you're running into the room and you want to get them up because you're like, come on, get up, we got to start the day and whatnot, and you don't know as a kid what the stresses of being an adult are, and now you know. But that I thought that was really a really fun moment between her and the kids. The whole I'm resting my eyes. How many times were we told by our granddad that he's just resting his eyes?
I'm not asleep.
Yeah,
I'm
not
just
sleeping.
resting my eyes.
So I thought that was cute. Thought that was really nice. But she decides to get up. But not before we go back outside the hex to Hayward, who has now set up another forward operation base for Sword. And we have a quick moment with him and his second in command or whatever, just random Sword Agent B. Yeah, you think the eyes move weird, but I didn't see it. I just think it was someone acting really weirdly.
All right.
And it just made it through the cut. So and he announces and reveals to us that there's a plan to go on the offensive to strike.
Well, that's just it. He uses his words very coyly. Because
very carefully.
Well, I don't think I think the scriptwriters picked the words carefully. I don't think Hayward cares. Now, they use the word strike. That could mean a in-person offensive. It could also mean nuking the site from orbit. We know at this point that Tony Stark has
Hold on a second. I know we're not in theory crafting here, but if you sent a nuke into this place, what would it turn into? I guess now it would just be a nuke, but if you...
A giant sausage.
If you sent it when they were in the 1950s, but it would turn into a dirty 50s hydrogen bomb, wouldn't it?
Well, no, because she might have the ability to turn it into whatever she wants, because she turned a helicopter into a hot air balloon.
Yeah, I guess.
So
but a hot air balloon is aviation related.
Yeah,
we haven't seen anything turn into something that it isn't a counterpart of on the outside of the hex. But anyway, sorry, that was theory crafting.
Well, if you think about it as well, at this point in time, there is that gigantic satellite, Stark Industries satellite that Peter Parker gets in.
Edith,
yeah, she's up there, so that might be what Sword might be trying to strike her with, or someone. Striker. But I have a theory on Hayward, and I'll leave it to the end. But he's obviously like I can't remember who says it, but he wants his weapon back. Darcy found out that because we jump later on. I think it's in a few minutes actually. We find out that the hacker Darcy cracked Sword's.
Well, yeah, let's get to that when we get to it.
Let's go to that.
All right, if you're done talking about Hayward's strike, then we'll move on.
Well, that's just it, though. I just want to ask you, do you think it's going to be an all-out offensive, or do you think he's
I don't know yet.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
I don't know. So we go back from outside the hex to inside the hex, but we go to Vision, he wakes up right in the spot that he was at the end of the previous episode.
Right by the circus.
Yeah, so in the same way that we had Wanda waking up the day after, we've got now Vision waking up the day after. And you would imagine after she's reset and fixed everything, she would have had him in bed with her. But he's not. He's still back out where he was.
Well, that shows that she doesn't control him.
Not like he does the other people.
And she can't reset him or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. But so he wakes up and he's waking up next to the sword, quote, circus.
The sword circus.
The sword circus, yeah. So, I mean, that stands to reason, because obviously that's where he was when he left. But we're introduced to Darcy, the escape artist, which I thought they were going to play around with that a little bit, but they were very quick to get on top of that. But then there's not much happens there. We just find out that we just find out that Vision comes across Darcy, and then we cut again back to Wanda again, back with the kids at the house. She comes downstairs. She wants to prepare breakfast and whatnot, and things are still changing. She tries to make cereal, and the milk keeps changing several times. And she goes to talk to the kids, and the kids ask her about Uncle Pete, and she warns them immediately not to trust him. She doesn't know who he is. Basically, that's what it's telling us. The viewer.
Says he's not your uncle, so she knows, or she feels that it's not her brother.
See, I don't think that. I think she immediately, when she came across him back in the episode where he's introduced, she recognizes him as her brother. It wasn't until the events of last episode when he pulls the whole "it's not like your dead husband can die twice." That's when her zapping him away in that episode was basically her saying, "Okay, this isn't Pietro."
She also alludes to in that scene as well that again she still doesn't have she does not have control over Vision, because the kids ask, "Where's Dad?" And she's like, "Well, if you don't want to be here, you don't want to be here."
But we'll get to that. We're still talking about Quicksilver. So he had warned. She warns the kids that isn't Pietro. That's not your uncle. I don't know who it is. She has to tell the kids that she has no answers, and there's this weird little moment where she basically admits to her children that life is meaningless, existentialism, nihilism, all that, and you've got to make you got to make your own decisions, which is a bit strange. But she jests that the kids though have inherited their father. But she says you are literally made from the same stuff as your father.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird, because you'd made that theory in the past that the kids are made up of parts of Vision.
Well, yeah, because we chatted about where did the kids come from, because so far, like you said, we've not seen anything in the hex just be conjured out of thin air. Yeah. So the kids have to have come from somewhere. So her
saying that they literally inherited tough skin.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's just trying to use the colloquialisms of the 2000s to hint this is where we're at, or if it's clever script writing pointing out that these kids literally are made of the same stuff as Vision, that the kids are made of vibranium, which would be interesting. That'd be an interesting reveal if all of a sudden there's a moment where they like they're revealed to look like little visions, and there was a little vision earlier in the season.
You mean like when he's a baby?
That scene? Because you were going on to something because I didn't write that down. But she mentions about the dad.
I think it's Tommy asks where his dad is, and she says again, "Well, if your dad don't want to be here, there's nothing I can do about it," which is just another indication to me that she does not have any control over Vision. However, he's been resurrected has made him completely sentient and has his own free will. But there's also the part in the kitchen when she's making a cereal, and you see the missing child on the milk bottle. Now, again, this might be us reading way too much into shit, and that might just be what happens in America. We know they have missing kids on the back of milk bottles. But do you think that missing kid might have been the person that Jimmy was looking for, the missing witness or person in protective care?
Possibly, because we also had a hint in previous episodes when they were trying to figure out who everybody was. There was a missing person on that wall. That might have just been though because they knew there was a missing person. It's like have we found the missing person? Have we been able to identify them as a character in WandaVision? So there could be an indication that there's someone in there who we still have to think about. Maybe Evan Peters is the missing person. And he's not Pietro, and so that's why they said they recast Pietro, because in her mind, Agnes has made it so that, well, this is kind of getting it's spoiler territory, but I gotta write that down. We gotta remember that. I can't talk about that right now.
While you go on about that, I thought it was a nice, and I don't think there's anything in this. I think this is just a nice nod to the wider universe. The fact that the cereal she's eating is sugar snaps. And I looked, there are no such things.
And I said that snaps probably means something when you and Carl were joking about how everyone makes a big deal about every detail. That's just it. Minutia and whatnot.
I searched, and there is no such thing as sugar snap cereal. I just think that's a nod to the snap.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so that moment, Agnes shows up. She comes in through the door, sitcom style, to take the kids basically away.
Oh, and Wanda's completely given zero fucks about showing the magic
like,
now. She's
go on. Take them away. Well, because obviously that's how Agnes has been manipulating her to trust her, that she can trust her. So she's like, yeah, go on, take the kids, go look after me. If you'll do that for me, that's great. So Agnes takes the kids away, but not before mentioning, hey, would you like to check out the suspicious mole on my back? I mean, that could be just as direct as the language is being, and it's like, hey, look, I am literally a mole, and I'm suspicious.
Yes. But
that also tells me
other things that have moles.
Yeah, that also tells me, though, without getting too much into it, that she is not the one in charge. Because a mole generally isn't the one in charge. The mole is sent by someone.
We don't want to jump ahead into major spoilers, because we're kind of already doing spoilers now, because we're talking about the episode.
No, it's not jumping ahead to spoilers that I'm worried about, because we're spoiling things right now. It's jumping ahead to theory crafting. We get too deep into the theory crafting.
Yeah, okay, so let's just move on to the next scene then.
All right, so then everything is changing. This is still the same scene, but this is after Agnes leaves, and everything starts changing in the house. The stalk reappears and poofs into a big piece of red mist. The plants keep changing. The television changes to like an old 50s television. The couch changes. Things start changing, and then she just does a reset and gets everything back to normal. And then she's like, "Has it ended?"
To me, that is good visual storytelling of Wanda's mental state. I think that there's nothing nefarious about that. That is how they're showing that with us, the audience, that Wanda's struggling,
and also that she's in over her head.
Yeah.
So it's not just struggling from a mental health point of view, because we know she is. This whole thing is basically caused by grief.
Yeah.
And that grief is a major theme of this series. But at this point, we're also finding out that she's not just struggling, but she's losing
a grip.
But it could be a result of trying to increase the size of the hex.
Yeah.
But this is where, again, I don't want to get into theory crafting, because what I know about Scarlet Witch from the comics is that she's just basically, she's going to, rather than that be a problem, she's going to find out how for it not to be a problem, and then she's going to just get more powerful. That's kind of how she works. When you come across, when she comes across or meets her match, her power is essentially to be able to adapt. She's very resilient as Scarlet Witch.
Okay.
So we then cut to Monica and Jimmy back outside. They, as you remember from the previous episode, they had been sent away by Hayward, but they escaped.
Even though this was kind of a not like a very explosive part, it was one of my favorite parts of the episode because it basically had all those people who were theory crafting. Oh, who's the engineer? Who's the aerospace? It's Reed Richards.
We'll get to that. So Jimmy and Monica are talking inside about the shit show that they're in, and Jimmy mentions that Darcy managed to hack super hacker extraordinaire managed to hack Hayward's files, and he pulls up the files and it reveals a project called Project Cataract, which means that they now know, and we know, that Hayward was aware of Vision being part of this, and it kind of hints that maybe he allowed her to be able to steal him.
Well,
or maybe after she stole him, he was like, "Hey, this is a chance for me to get something done."
No, I believe Project Cataract was Hayward's attempt to re-energize Vision and get his weapon back, like they say, and that's what Wanda found out, and that's why she flipped her lid. So
so the reason they had him dissected on a table,
they were trying to put him.
That was Project Cataract.
They were trying to get Humpty Dumpty back together again.
But that, to me, that's what's going on with Hayward. I don't think he's involved with any of the ulterior motives of anything. I think he, as far as he's concerned, this is all about him just finding a way to create synthezoids, or at least get Vision working again. He doesn't know what he's dealing with when it comes to the powers that be inside. We'll get there.
I'll tell you. We'll get onto that in a minute.
But I thought it was kind of funny that it's Project Cataract, because, what does cataracts do? They cloud your vision.
Yeah.
So make of that what you will. And so they meet up with Monica's military friends. I use the term military friends because it's not like explicitly stated that this is the so-called aerospace engineer.
I know.
But they're situated just outside the Hex. They have their own little forward operations base, and go on, you take over now.
But it had everybody on the internet just a buzz with theory crafting. Oh, it's Reed Richards. It's this. It's that. It's who, and it turns out to be nobody.
Yeah, I even have a friend who still seems to think that Marvel are making Fantastic Four movies and they're already being filmed, and John Krasinski has already been cast. So I don't know how he got that idea, because it's
smoking some serious shit.
So there are people out there who have obviously read this information. It just shows you just how powerful Facebook is, and when they say don't believe everything you read.
Is it really the power of Facebook?
It's the power of social
Kevin.
Media. No, this isn't Kevin I'm talking about.
Is it Kevin putting that out into social media under kind of like...
Kevin's not a rumor spreader. Kevin's got quite a lot of integrity, actually, I'll have you know, when it comes to his...
I meant Kevin Feige.
Oh.
So what? Feige's got like 1 million ghost accounts, and he just...
You got to be a little bit more clear with that shit.
And he just lets stuff slip here and stuff slip there. He wants to change...
I just let a Freudian slip.
Yeah. He's... Basically, Feige is conducting us all.
So you're saying that Kevin Feige is actively throwing disinformation out on purpose?
100%.
I mean, it's not just him, because we have people out there making rumors. We know from 4chan that people make up shit rumors about the new Star Trek series, left, right, and center.
Look at this. This entire show is about magic. What is the key ingredient? Yeah, what is the key ingredient to magic? Misdirection. That's how magic works.
No, that's like illusions and magic.
Yeah, that's what. No, I'm not.
Okay, that's what you meant. Sorry. Yeah. I was taking you literally.
No,
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. The key ingredient to illusion and being a magician is misdirection. This entire show is one huge misdirection, I think, to the point where even the obvious stuff is actual misdirection. So yeah,
But it's like misdirection within misdirection. That's like 16 misdirections.
It is. But I just thought it funny, though, that all these people got into a foaming rabid frenzy that Reed Richards was going to show up. He's the cameo.
He might still. You don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but doesn't that make you think, when you talk about crazy coincidences and shit, that this episode was a homage to The Office?
Yeah, John Krasinski.
John Krasinski's in The Office. What if they pull John Krasinski from The Office and he becomes Reed Richards?
Maybe. Anyway, next scene.
Yeah, if people, if people have fun doing this shit, more power to them.
We do it because it's fun. We could be completely fucking
Well,
wrong.
I'm not really that good with the theory crafting, to be honest, because usually when I start discussing theories with you, I start to realize just how convoluted and over the top the shit I was coming up with, and I can't keep track of half the crap I come up with. So rather than try to make YouTube videos about it, I usually sit on it.
Yeah.
But okay, so back at the circus, Vision frees Darcy, which, like I say, was very. I thought that we were gonna play around with that a little bit and have Vision and the escape artist Darcy, but no, he's like, hey, look, that mime, he's struggling, and he distracts her and he taps her head, and now all of a sudden,
but before
she's
that,
back to being herself.
We got a hint from what Darcy says that even though all these people are being controlled by something in the hex, they're relying on their past experiences to create the characters, because Darcy remembers the sword guy and his bad back and says, "What's your back again?" And she also says to Vision, "Okay, I'll go out with you."
She remembers the other guy as well who's giving her shit.
And she says, "I'll go out with you, but I'm ordering the lobster." So she remembers what she saw happen in episode 1. And then literally as soon as we see him break her out of it, she says she secretly wanted a guest part on the show, but
she says, "Hello, self, meet myself."
Yeah,
which is kind of like indicating that she was aware of what was going on when she was being controlled.
I just want to put all through these scenes that we talked about with Darcy and Vision, Paul Bettany's acting as Vision is hilarious, because it's not like Vision we got to know in the movies. This serious,
the closest you got to that Vision was in Civil War. When the only time they really build the relationship between him and Wanda, because the next time we see them, they're both eloping in Scotland together.
Yeah, but as soon as they go to fighting, he's back to being Vision.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's actually acting just like a normal dude, and I love it because it's funny seeing Vision just act like a normal guy.
Yeah, act like Paul Bettany.
Yeah.
Nothing else of note happening in that scene?
Then they run off, and she punches the sword guy that give her shit. Which you could tell she enjoyed that.
Yeah, they commandeer a truck, and so where is it? They commandeer a truck and they book it out of there. And Vision, you caught onto this. Vision points out to Darcy that he's aware that Pietro is an imposter and not the real Pietro.
Yeah, because he asks, "Are my kids safe?" And she doesn't know. And he goes, "What about the imposter Pietro?" And again, she has no answers for that.
Well, yeah, but she also responds quite matter-of-factly as like she's aware, because she knows that he's not the real Pietro. But it's also weird that he would know that. And this is where I was saying, so there's a lot of people out there who are making the assumption that he is dead and he's just this puppet zombie that basically within the hex. However, I feel there's something different at work with Vision. I think his personality is essentially rebuilding itself.
Yeah, he was like backed up on a hard drive in his butt cheek or something.
But what's going on is it's almost analogous to people who suffer from amnesia. Like when you suffer from amnesia or you lose your memory or whatever, you don't suddenly forget how to tie your shoelaces.
No.
You don't forget that your favorite food is bacon. You know, you remember these things. There's certain things you remember about amnesia. It's like your short-term memory that's affected for the most part. So your ability to recall things around you and recall things that just happened to you, but things buried deep within your subconscious are still there. And so he recalls, because he would know that it's not Pietro, because he met Quicksilver in the movie in which he is introduced.
Yes, and also we know with amnesiacs, sometimes they'll get all the memory back at once, or it will literally start coming back in little pieces to fill in all the gaps.
And with Darcy coming in and whatnot, that might start to jog his memory even more. So we go back to Wanda again, and we have more instances of her losing control, which is, at this point, it's like, yeah, okay, we get it. She can't control the hex right now. She's having problems. And she admits to the cameraman in the mockumentary style interview, she admits that she doesn't know why she can't control it or what's going on. And unless she's trying to mislead us, although I guess they're breaking the fourth wall, right? If she's trying to mislead us, the viewers, there's no reason to believe she's not being honest there.
No, because then doesn't the director behind the camera come back and say something?
Yeah, it says, Don't you think you deserve it? Or maybe you deserve it?
And that so if Wanda's breaking the fourth wall, what's the director doing? Breaking like the eighth wall?
Breaking the dimensional wall.
Because it really catches her off guard.
Yeah.
So
Well, she says you're not supposed to talk.
Yeah.
But that's also kind of a joke though, because you never see that.
No.
So when you're watching like Trailer Park Boys or Parks and Recreation or The Office or whatever,
I think it happens once in The Office
Yeah.
and they lose their shit because they show the cameraman.
well, and that happens in Trailer Park Boys as well, where Ricky and Julie basically start fucking losing their shit, and it's like, hey, look, we don't pay you guys to talk. But that's kind of though a little bit of a wink and a nod, I think, to that. It's like, you're not supposed to talk. This doesn't happen. However, again, double meanings and double speak in WandaVision. This could very easily be her realizing that, because I think that's Agnes. Yeah, even though it's a man's voice, it shows her later sitting in the director's chair.
Spoilers.
Well, we're getting there, so I won't worry about it.
And it is Agnes, because they actually deepened Catherine Hahn's voice for it, and if you listen to the way Catherine Hahn talks, you could tell it's her.
Oh, okay.
As soon as you know that, you know it's her.
So then we basically followed by this week's commercial,
Which to me is the most on point, obvious of all the commercials that came along.
Well, to anybody who knows the comics.
Yeah.
To anybody who doesn't know the comics, then...
So I think we can cover this one easy. Basically, Wanda is what's called a nexus being, which means she is the same person in all realities. Whereas you might go to reality and Stephen Strange is somebody else. He's a construction worker. Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch, is the same person in every multiverse.
But she's also a conduit as well.
Yes.
So she is the same person, but she is also a way for other people to come into other realities and other universes.
So what I wanted to say about that, though, is we know Wanda is suffering from depression, and they push it out as a depression medicine commercial.
Yeah, but what's the slogan of the pill?
I can't remember, but it has a lot of side effects.
Yeah, or maybe you're just depressed.
Yeah, but this is what it said to me.
Tendency to allow one to the side effects is tendencies to allow one to experience alternate realities, or maybe you're just depressed.
Yeah, and that to me though, that commercial is telling Wanda how she gets out of this. He tells her that she won't, because look at the end of the episode. The character in it pops a Nexus pill, comes walking out, big grin on her face, and exit camera left. So that says to me that commercial is telling Wanda that she can't be happy again until she realizes she's a Nexus being and embraces being a Nexus being. Because obviously Wanda has no idea what that is at the moment. She's going to have to learn that from somebody.
Well, yeah, we know who that probably is.
So,
but it's also kind of indicating perhaps that maybe the only way out of this is for her to find a new reality.
Maybe.
Maybe she's going to be the MCU's version of Quantum Leap.
Or she's going to have to travel to other multiverses in the future.
Just traveled all these different multiverses until she can find one where Vision is still alive.
I think that's one thing. I think Vision is back alive.
Maybe.
So anyway,
I don't know what to make of that, because I really do feel like the Vision that we're seeing is alive, but I also feel like it was hinted that unfortunately he can't exist outside of the hex.
Well, we could theorycraft that at the end.
Well, we can't help ourselves but get into this ship. So back with the kids and Agnes, we find them inside Agnes's house. She's feeding them and giving them letting them watch TV and whatnot, being a really good babysitter. And Tommy admits that he really likes it there because it's quiet. And she's like, "Oh, that's funny, kids say the darndest things." But then he says, "You're quiet, Agnes." And she continues to kind of laugh it off a little bit until he says, "But no, you're quiet inside."
Which says to me that she has the ability to block out Tommy's powers, which generally only a person with powers can do.
Mm-hmm. And then she makes an offhand statement, though, about how it's like, "Oh, you kids these days are cuckoo. We'll find out why you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs." No. What does she mean by that?
No. What she said was, so first thing she says is, "Do you think the kid said? Do you think my mum's all right?" And she's like, laughs it off. She's like, "Oh, listen, kids, it's fine. Blah blah. Your mum's can do anything. She's super mum."
Yeah,
so she knows Wanda has powers. And then she goes, well, what was I going to tell him? Your mum's cuckoo for...
That's
so
what
she
I
was
meant,
basically saying, I can't tell the kids your mum's fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah.
But...
So is that her telling the audience, winking at the audience,
Yeah.
that she is actually, in fact, gone crazy?
Yes, and it's also her telling the audience that she knows exactly who Wanda Maximoff is, because obviously what we find out in a couple of more scenes.
Yeah. Okay. So then, meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom, back with Monica, she's basically trying to penetrate the hex. The aerospace engineer brought her a tank.
Reed Richards.
Yeah. Brought her this armored vehicle. And see, this is what I mean about like lazy, not lazy writing, but lazy storytelling, lazy stuff, just things happening that don't really need to happen.
Does it meet all your specifications?
Yeah.
What
it's perfect.
And this is what's stupid about this, because if you watch carefully, there's a scene coming up where Darcy says to Vision, "I've been watching WandaVision now for a week, and the love that you share, I could tell is true."
Yeah, we haven't got to that bit yet.
But what I'm saying is, for this part, that means in the space of 7 days, Monica managed to contact somebody who then built this tank, and it shows up. I know Reed Richards is good.
So the thing is it doesn't work. That's what I mean. It's like, why even have that moment? You could have just had this whole, like, we can't figure it out. So then Monica's just like, okay, I'm going in. But this is what happened. This is how I wrote it. So back with Monica, she tries to penetrate the hex with her tank. Doesn't work, so she says, fuck it, and goes in anyway, giving herself superpowers.
Yeah, she could have literally just stood next to the barrier with Jimmy and gone, Jimmy, I don't know what to make of this. And just leant on it and fell through.
It's funny, because what did I tell you about when I watched it on the opening night?
Oh,
Disney Plus skipped that whole scene, that whole section. So it's like Disney Plus.
Well,
the algorithm of Disney Plus knew it's like, don't worry about this bit. This bit's useless. It's just nothing happens.
Well, we know that the tank didn't make it, but then with Monica then breaking through the barrier and pushing herself through, there's lots going on in that tiny little scene. So her body kind of breaks up into, I think it's 5 parts.
Well, hold on. Before we get there, we have the really overly melodramatic. No, don't try it. From between her and Jimmy.
her best Clark Kent impression.
Like I said, that's what I'm talking about the sort of laziness of some of these moments outside of the hex. It's just they really didn't need to do that.
No.
They could have saved us 5 minutes of screen time and put something awesome going on inside the hex by just having it. She gets there, she meets her aerospace engineer, and she's like, we couldn't do it. We couldn't sufficiently make it get through the hex. And she's like, okay, I'm going in. And then there you go, run, bang. Yeah. And now she enters the hex and take it away.
But then your episode would now be 23 minutes long as opposed to 30 minutes.
You could have had some interesting shit going on inside the hex.
Well, anyway, so you got Monica breaking through the barrier, and her personality splits into, I think it's 4 or 5 characters. You see...
It reminded me of that scene in Contact.
Yeah, a little bit, where she's going through the transwarp bubble, corridors.
Well, the transit system.
Basically what happens is, what I could make out was, there's the Monica from when she first showed up at Westview in her sword outfit. Then there's the Monica in the 2 episodes. So I think it was the 60s and the 70s outfit. Then there's the Monica, obviously, in her space outfit. But then there's Monica from when she came back from the blip. And she's dressed in what she was dressed when we first see her show up in the show.
It was also her in her sword uniform as well.
Yeah, that's what I said. When she first gets to Westview, before she gets sucked in. And she meets Jimmy for the first time.
Yeah, in a sword uniform. Yeah. Okay, sorry, because that gets turned into the 70s outfit.
Yeah. And then through all that, we're hearing a voiceover, and I'm sure I hear Carol Danvers in there.
Yeah.
I'm sure I hear a mum.
You hear the moment from Captain America when she sat on the porch with her.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel.
And then all of a sudden, they all come back together in like a real powerful bang, and she pops through with her eyes glowing blue and looks absolutely badass. And that basically is the creation of Photon.
Captain Proton.
Yeah. And then we see...
Because she is a captain.
Yeah, and then we see... It's Photon, though.
No, but Captain Proton's from Star Trek Voyager.
And then we see through her eyes that she can see all the
electromagnetic spectrum. Because she looks at the power...
cables. I think you can see the electromagnetic fields. So,
although electromagnetic fields, though, that's how they look drawn on a 2-dimensional surface. Yeah. Well, I guess your vision is technically a 2-dimensional surface, but whatever.
But then her eyes die down and go back to normal, which means to me that she hasn't got full use of her powers yet. She gets out of that space.
Oh, she just can turn it on and off.
Yeah, and then she gets out of the spacesuit in record time and runs off to find Wanda.
Doesn't she come through the other side, not in the spacesuit?
No, she's got the spacesuit on. She takes it off and drops it on the floor.
Yeah, it just goes to show, none of us know shit, man. We all have to watch these shows like 18 times. People do. You see it on Twitter all the time. After the last episode, all the people I were following are like, oh man, I'm just through my 7th watching. And I'm like, dude, it's only been out like an hour.
I watched it and went to bed.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so we've got her in there now, and we go back to Vision and Darcy. Darcy's explaining to him, presumably we come to them mid-conversation, so presumably she's told him everything about how he was created and whatnot, and what happened during Civil War, but why she knows all these things, I don't know. But Darcy explains to him what happened during the events of the Infinity War as well, about how Wanda had to kill him and destroy the Mind Stone, and then had to do it all over again.
Yeah, well, Vision asks, he goes, well, because she says, you asked it to, and Vision asks, did it work? And she kind of goes,
it's like, yeah,
kind of.
But then the bad guy turns back time.
And kills you again. And then you can see the look on Vision's face as well. That at that point, he realizes that Wanda had to watch him die twice. And that's why she's suffering. And you can tell that's his moment of understanding of what she's kind of going through. But then we also in that scene.
Well, Wanda is apparently causing obstacles for them because
the red lights.
She indicating again more that she's trying to avoid him. She doesn't want him to be bothering her because they get caught at the headlights. They get caught with kids crossing the road and whatnot. But Vision's the one who notices this. He's like she's trying to keep me at bay.
Then they go to them interviewing him sat on a filming chair talking about.
Yep.
She obviously doesn't want me to come back. She's trying to stop me. She's putting up
But
barriers.
Darcy continues to tell him more and more about him because now he also knows that he's made up of Ultron and Jarvis, or was, and he thinks to himself, though, if I was made up of them and I died, well, what am I now? Which is another kind of wink. Is he a new person?
Yeah.
Darcy wonders why as well. Wonders why he's not capable of escaping the Hex, noting that she thinks his and Wanda's love is real. Everything else may seem fake, but the fact that their love is real is a worthwhile sentiment for her to point out. Because she could just be saying it just to make him feel better, because she notices he's like depressed when he says, "What am I now?" But she could also be pointing something out. It's like, hey, look, if your love for each other is real, that means you're real.
Yeah, and also that conversation gives us a timeline now, which is the first time we've got an official timeline. Darcy's been watching WandaVision for a week. So we know that this entire series, at the moment, is no longer than 7 days in real-world time.
Oh, it could be a little bit longer, because the first time we get any indication that Sword is outside dealing with this stuff, and that Monica is the first episode we see Monica inside, which is episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
So she could very easily... This could be 8 days.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
That's just me being pedantic. I apologize.
What it's showing us, though, is that it's set over a very short period of time. Think about what's happened. A shit ton has happened in these 6 to 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the fact that they put that on there, that this is all... Because we were saying, wow, lots going on in the show, but not a lot of passage of time has happened outside the Hex. So we now have a confirmation that... time is traveling differently for the two zones.
Possibly.
Yeah.
No, I think it's more to do with the fact that all of the subjects within the zone, every day they get reset, which is usually at the end of every day, is, to them, it's a new scenario.
No, because in the 50s show, we see a night and a morning.
It spans several days. Again, it's just what I'm saying is it's just time is still traveling at the same rate inside the Hex. It's just that she's just changing the time of day and whatnot.
Maybe it's traveling differently, and that's why we have a different aspect ratio.
I just think we have a different aspect ratio for the most part, because all the stuff inside has been 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, where everything was predominantly 4x3.
That would be clever. That would be a trolling by Marvel of the fans.
But again, it's double speak though. It's double use, because it's also a good visual storytelling device to show people that, hey, look, this is all, when it's in 4x3, this is all the weird shit that's going on inside the Hex. This is all make believe. When we're in 16:9 widescreen with the cinematic
movie look.
Yeah, it's you know what's funny? It's similar to something else. You know American Dad. You know the the mystery of the golden poo?
No.
You've never seen that? So the exact same thing happens. So Roger takes a crap, right?
Oh, yes, I have, and he shits gold.
He shits gold, yeah. Well, there's this ongoing like little mini-series, and every time it cuts to something going on with the golden poop, it goes to 16:9 aspect ratio.
All right.
So we then we rush back. So things are actually happening pretty fast in this episode at this point.
Because, again, it's only 30 minutes long.
Yeah, so we go back to the house and we find out that Monica has reached the house. She just walks in the door, and I thought shit was going to like hit the fan at this point. But she confronts Wanda, and Wanda's just like, "What are you doing here? How did you get here?" And it's like,
you're not supposed to be here.
It's like she went from being like, "I'm gonna fucking like shoot you all and murder all these people, and I'm gonna like just try me, bitch," to being like, "Hey, now you can't be in here."
Yeah, but the moment she mentions Vision, she loses her shit.
Anyway, where was it with my notes? This is the moment where we also realize, because they start fighting out on the lawn, and Wanda's like saying, you know, like, "You did this, you sent the rocket, all you do is lie, and you sent Pietro," and this is at that moment where it's like, oh, Wanda assumes that Pietro was sent by Sword. Yeah, I got to follow my notes because I was a little bit like hectic at this point because so much shit was going on. So a fight sort of ensues. It's kind of a fight.
Monica says, "No, we didn't. We didn't know anything about Pietro."
But at this point, she's not listening to her. It's basically they're just shouting it over each other like you and I do all the time.
Because at that point, when she says, we knew nothing about Pietro," is when she releases her from her red wiggly woos, and Monica sticks the hero landing.
Yeah, and she realizes that Monica is a super.
Has now got powers.
Superpowers. And also, not to mention, Monica.
You could say that Monica's mutated.
Yeah, Monica tries to appeal to her here and say, "Look, Hayward's making you out to be the villain," and Wanda turns around and says, "Maybe I am the villain."
But then Monica doesn't believe this, and she says that because she goes into the fact to try and tell her that she's lost big and that she understands what she's going through. And then we switch to Agnes, who's...
Yeah, she's like nosy neighbour.
Nosy neighbour.
Like Michael Caine.
Yeah. And then...
Michael Payne, sorry. I'm a nosy neighbour.
Yeah. And then, obviously...
No one will know what that means.
Yeah, no. And Monica's...
Unless we've got some Fast Show fans out there.
Yeah. Monica's doing a pretty good job at talking her down at this point.
Mm-hmm. But then Agnes interrupts before Monica can even get through to her. And she slowly takes her away. And Wanda just goes with her. So,
but she says something else.
Well, she turns back and says, you know, like just
no, Monica tells her you've got to take it down.
Yeah, and she's like, no, just leave me alone. Don't try anything.
But that's a great indication as well that Sword and Monica still think Wanda is 100% responsible for the hex. They have no inclination.
Well, she is. She's responsible literally for the hex, but she's not necessarily fully responsible for all the events that are going on.
That's what Sword and Monica think, whereas we kind of learn otherwise.
Yeah. So one more time, we return to Vision and Darcy, where Vision's having his conversation with the office documentary staff guys, and he's just all of a sudden he's like, wait a second, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. This is absurd. And he yeets it out of there and
bangs his head on the...
Yeah, and then and then he synthezoid flies himself back to the house.
He says at the beginning of that, he says he obviously, he's like, I can't believe she had to go through all that and see me like that. What am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then he has his realization. Again, showing 3/4 that he is a sentient, thinking being. And then, yeah, as you say, takes off through the roof.
So we return to Wanda and Agnes, where Wanda starts to worry a little bit. She notices things are a little amiss. She sees the half-eaten food on the table and the kids show on the TV, and she starts worrying and wondering where the boys are. Agnes basically lures her into the basement by suggesting that they're down there, and that's where we get the big "oh my god" reveal.
Well, that's where we get these slowly walking in, and it literally goes from 4:3 and it zooms into 16:9, hence making us think either we've caught up with modern day times or that she's going out into that area, that witchy dungeon is part of the real world. You got Wanda walks in, she's surveying the area. Obviously, it's dark. It's I wouldn't say it's a dungeon, but it's like
it looks like a stereotypical witch's lair.
Witch's lair. And then we have the book, the glowing book. Now I didn't
know what that was.
So I've watched a lot of reviews. I personally think it's the Darkhold, which is a dark book of magic that's shown up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The symbols on the front, though, look very similar to the kind of symbols that are on the books in Doctor Strange's library.
I was just going to say, it's probably got more in common with Doctor Strange.
But Doctor Strange might have had the Darkhold in that library.
Yeah.
And the one key thing that is number one about that book, which barely anybody I've noticed over the week has mentioned, is it's glowing a different magic colour. We know Wanda is red. We find out now that Agnes is Agatha Harkness. Her magic is purple. This book is glowing orange.
Which is the same colour as the Sorcerer Supreme and all of his friends.
It's very.
So it's probably something related to Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. But yeah, we've got Agnes who decides to have a rabbit as opposed to a cat.
Yeah,
very unwitch-like.
It felt like
Mr. Scratchy.
No, but it kind of felt like
Dr. Evil.
Well, I was just going to say she might have walked in and doing this, but then obviously they didn't want to hold that stereotype of, because that was a perfect moment for her to have a cat, because a witch and a black cat. But I don't know.
But then we have the brilliant
something about that rabbit, apparently, isn't there?
Well, I believe her brother's called Mr. Scratchy. So why your brother would be in rabbit form, I have no idea.
Well,
but then we have that.
He likes to fuck with us.
Yeah, but then we have that phenomenal ending song, sung by.
Oh
Catherine
yeah,
Hahn.
the Agatha. It was Agatha all along skit.
But then when we first see it, she comes flying in, and you see her from the waist down, dressed
as a witch.
It's brilliant, and it's very monsters. That's what it's got the hint. But you see that she was controlling the magic show. Now, I don't know the exact lyrics, but some of the lyrics I got out, they mentioned the word that she was doing all these evil deeds.
I'm going to get you to start taking notes one of these days, mister.
Well, they said that she was doing these evil... So they actually say it's evil. But again, I don't believe Agatha is evil at this stage.
Oh, no. Well, the whole sequence is like... It's a joke. It's a skit.
But they're saying it's evil. We see her control Herb. We know that she's controlling Pietro. Or whatever Pietro is. Because how Wanda didn't... So Wanda opens the door. Pietro's so there... Agnes is on the lawn having a picnic. How she didn't see her having a picnic, I have no idea.
But because, like I said, this whole skit is for laughs.
Yeah,
it's meant to be hokey. It's meant to be fun and silly.
Yeah,
it's almost like Captain Proton. It reminds me of like a 50s
bit,
sci-fi horror intro.
And then at the end, we see
it's so cheesy and campy.
She controls. Or it looks like she controls Wanda's eyes with her purple magic, and then we get the end credits, and then we get the end credits scene. Now, the end credits scene is Monica's followed them, obviously, since they walked off, found Agnes's house, which I want to say that Agnes's house from the inside looks way bigger than the outside.
Yeah, because my theory on that is that her house is unaffected by the hex. Her house is her house.
So you think
or it's the house that she just chose to occupy.
Yeah, Agatha Harkness lives in Westview.
Well, no, but even if she didn't, if she just like occupied someone's house,
okay,
like everything inside that house and the basement and whatnot is a separate. It's a little separate, untouched zone within the hex.
A bubble, and then
a bubble within a bubble.
Monica opens.
That's like 16 bubbles.
Then Monica opens up the basement doors and she sees all the purple vines signifying that Agnes is doing magic. And we get the ratio...
Doing magic.
We get the ratio change again. And then we get Pietro shows up and says...
No.
What? What?
Anyway, we move on to the end credits scene.
That's what I was just talking about.
This is why you need to start keeping notes, because you go way ahead of me on that. So yeah, he shows up and stops her, and it's just like, and he says Snooper's gonna snoop. Yeah. I think that was just like a little postscript, essentially. There was nothing too much going on there other than the fact that the minion Pietro is still around.
But hang on though, this is it though. So there's two things that happen in that scene. Monica's looking into the basement, and as she flips around, her eyes, to me, are purple, not blue. Which says
they
to
are
me,
purple.
Yeah, which says to me that she's now experiencing the magic of Agatha Harkness.
But that's probably a side effect of her magic. It's going to be like one of those situations where she's like, "Oh look, someone else has joined the party," and you're under my control, and it's going to be like a little. Hold on, and there's going to be like a little wink, wink moment between Monica and Wanda, where Wanda's going to open up OBS and just see what that was. There's going to be a little wink, wink moment.
Hang on, zoom in again. I don't know why that happened.
Excuse me.
So, that's good there. That'll do. But no, this is what I want to say about it, right? And this.
Well, no, I was talking. Let me finish my point. What was I saying? I was saying the thing, about the thing and all
the thing.
Yeah, I was saying there's gonna be like oh no, Monica's under her control, and Agatha's gonna think that. But part of the fact that she's got powers now is that she isn't under control, and she's just playing the whole the double fake situation, and she has a little winky wink moment with Wanda, and then a fight happens between Agatha and Quicksilver. And Wanda and Monica, and now we're like, we're teaming up, and Wanda and Monica are friends all of a sudden.
Okay, so I want to say this, and again, maybe I'm watching things too closely, and this is why
reading too much into things,
and this is why I don't think Pietro.
You can't be watching too closely. What are you doing? Like nose to nose with the screen.
This is why Pietro isn't Minion Pietro. I think Pietro is. Something else, and this.
I think he's the missing person.
So hang on. This is why. In the great Agatha All Along theme song,
it was Agatha all along. Yeah.
Everything she does, she's in line of sight. She lands. She goes into the 50s. She's in the house. At the magic show, she's at the magic show. She can see when she does that with a rabbit. When she bewitches Herb, she touches him. When she's with Pietro, she's on the lawn bewitching Pietro.
She's in the director's chair talking to Wanda as well.
Exactly.
I think that's looking too much into its situation.
Whereas Pietro is outside, not in visual range of Agatha. So with Snooper's going to snoop, I don't even think Agatha's controlling him there. I think whoever Pietro is working with Agatha or making her work for him.
Or maybe he's broken free and it's a red herring, and we'll find out that next episode that he's actually a good guy now.
No, I think he is the big bad of the show. Anyway, so that was the show. Shall we go on to theory crafting?
I think that'd be really underwhelming if that's the situation.
Well, no, because he's not Pietro. He's just using Pietro's skin.
I think it's time to get into the theory crafting then. Game on. Challenge accepted, because there's the first one for me. I think that Evan Peters in the MCU isn't playing Quicksilver or Pietro. He's playing Joe Bloggs, who lives in who is Jimmy's missing person. And it's just a clever.
Happens to look like
it's just a clever casting choice. And as Darcy mentions, it's not a matter of bringing the same person from another universe. She makes the recognition that this is a different person and says, "Wait, she recast Pietro," which means that Agatha just used this guy, this missing person, because she needed a real person from outside the hex. Well, not that the people are not real, but she needed someone in the same vein as Monica when she comes in and gets changed for the narrative. She needed someone to be able to play Quicksilver so that she could manipulate Wanda, and it just so happens to be this guy. And that's my theory, is that he's the missing person.
I'm gonna go on to some. I'm gonna talk about that one, then I'm gonna counter with another crazy thing. I think Pietro is the big bad of the series, and we'll find out. A lot of people saying it's Mephisto or Nightmare. It'll be a conglomeration of a couple of bad guys, because we know that. Well, we don't know, but we've highly believed that
it's Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, but Marvel will not go down the Mephisto route because it would not play well in China.
That is just a rumor still.
Yeah, no, but that I don't think Marvel are silly enough to count out the Chinese market. That's what my thought on that is. So I think
because that we do know for sure, because we just know how the communist CCP
they deal with demonic.
They
characters.
Will not let that show air. But do they have Disney Plus out there? Presumably they would, yeah.
And
they will not let it air. Anyway, yeah, they will not let things like that air if it's got any Satan or devil imagery or anything.
No, so I think it might be a Mephisto-ish character under Nightmare, who was a Doctor Strange.
Well, you see, Nightmare is also he's the same race.
Yeah, but he's not demonic.
Yeah, he is. He's just not red.
No, he's not demonic.
Yeah, he is. He's the same race as Mephisto. He's the same dimensional being.
Then being green, he probably would be fine.
Yeah.
He's
he's a green devil
but
instead of a red devil.
The fact that they brought in Nexus characters now, Kang the Conqueror is a Nexus character, and he's been taunted of maybe as the big bad from Phase 5 onwards, so he could be him.
Isn't Silver Surfer a Nexus character as well?
I think only once he's imbued with Galactus's powers.
Or is it Galactus who's the Nexus being?
I'm not sure. I'd have to read more comics.
I did. I haven't read too many. This is all based on stuff that I've researched as a result of this show.
I think the red herring is Agatha.
Oh, big time.
I do not believe Agatha is a bad guy. I think she got trapped in the hex when it happened. Like you say, I think Agatha probably lives in Westview. And then when Wanda lost her shit and created the hex, because Agatha is a...
No, I didn't flat out say she lives in Westview. I'm just saying either she does or she just occupied someone's house.
Well, this is why I think she does live there. We know she's from the comics. She survived the Salem witch trials, which is in Connecticut, which is fairly close to New Jersey. So I think she lives there. And when it all kicked off, she got...
Yeah, there's like 15 other states that are really close to New Jersey, though. So.
But I think she got caught in it. She got trapped in it. But because she's a magical being herself, she didn't go under Wanda's spell. So that all of a sudden made her think, well, what the hell's causing this? And then we could have told the story of Agatha Harkness being the detective to find out who's doing all this. And that's when she realized it was Wanda. And now she's trying to get to Wanda to try basically for self-preservation to get herself out of it.
So why the red herring?
Because we're making out like she's the bad guy. She's been manipulating Wanda all along to do all this.
Except if it is a red herring, then it's a bad one because they're just outright lying to the audience for no reason. A good red herring is believable.
It's fried with a bit of salt and pepper and some lime.
If they outright say that she's evil and she's the bad guy and she's the one that's been behind it, it's a better red herring in my opinion if she believes that herself too.
Well, no, I think because of how they said it was Agatha all along, how it's joking, I don't think she's the bad guy.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's the little difference I find in the theories is that she is a bad guy, but she thinks that she's in control of this whole thing. She doesn't know that she's not.
No, I think the song "It's Been Agatha All Along" is everything she's been doing has been trying to manipulate Wanda to get Wanda to shut this shit down.
So then where does the ulterior motive of the big bad come from then? What
becomes from my crazy theory crafting?
You're gonna have to really blow our minds on this one then, because it seems a little bit of a stretch so far.
The big bad of the show
is Vision.
No, but it involves Vision. Who would benefit the most from having a brand new synthezoid body?
Ultron.
Exactly. He is the big bad. And Ultron...
But Ultron's dead.
No, he's not. Ultron is... I forgot his name now. The director.
What? Ultron is Kevin Feige?
No, the director of S.W.O.R.D. I forgot his name for some reason.
Hayward?
Hayward, yeah. Ultron is Hayward.
But why?
In the comics, there is a period where Ultron takes human form.
Assuming direct control.
Yeah. And when the Avengers catch up with him, the guy who they think the bad guy, they don't even know it's Ultron.
When they catch up with the guy, the bad guy.
Right, okay, so they catch up with the guy, this bad guy, and this bad guy goes, "You have no idea who I am, and I've been here in front of you all along." And he changes to reveal himself. It was Ultron. Ultron is the big bad.
He just wants his body back.
No, he wants his synthezoid
That's what
body.
I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants his body back.
Yeah, it was never his though, technically.
Yeah, it was.
No, he built it and never occupied it, so it was never technically.
Well, but he slightly did occupy it. Part of his code and part of Jarvis's code combined together to create a new being. But it's also energized by Thor when he strikes it with lightning.
He gives him the power that they need.
Well, he energizes the Mind Stone. So his personality was made of both Ultron, Jarvis, and the Mind Stone. But that's why he says, "I'm not Ultron." But I'm not Jarvis either.
And that's who the big bad is. And the hint to that was when Darcy and Vision are chatting, and he makes a point of that. I was born of the AI of Jarvis and of the genocide on nut job Ultron. Ultron's the big bad. And that's why.
How's that?
And that's why we still keep getting all this stuff happening outside the Hex with Hayward. We know the only thing Hayward wants is that body back. That body was being reassembled so that Ultron, that didn't get purged from the internet, can occupy that body again and continue with his plan.
Good luck with that.
I tell you what, it's more likely than fucking Reed Richards.
Yeah, but I never fell for the Reed Richards thing. I don't even think John Krasinski is a good choice, to be honest, for Reed Richards. It's like everybody's obsessed with Wolverine being played by Tom Hardy, and I just don't really see it.
So the reason why Krasinski has been brought forward this is because they said the pair of Krasinski and Blunt, husband and wife, would make a phenomenal Sue Storm and Reed Richards.
That's not how acting has to work.
That's not how acting works.
the whole point of acting is you're acting, you're pretending, you're not. So like the last thing I think you want on set is to bring your family to the workplace. I mean, they were in that that survival horror movie together.
Not Bird Box, the other one.
The one where the creatures follow sound and stuff.
Something like Keep It Quiet.
Stay quiet. Yes, it is. It's something like that. But that's the only thing they've acted in together, isn't it?
Yeah, but they were. I assumed they were good in that.
I just think the last thing that's not a defense of hiring him. Oh, we'll hire him because Reed Richards also has a wife.
Yeah. No. That was my crazy theory for this. Is that Ultron's behind the nefarious
It's crazy,
plot.
all right.
And Agatha got caught up in Wanda's grief, and she's trying to get Wanda to do. She's manipulating her to try and get it taken down.
If I was absolutely honest with you, I have no fucking clue what's going on. I don't know enough about the comic book characters of Mephisto and Agatha. I know Mephisto he takes the form of a fly.
And there's Cicada.
And there's one on the wall, on the drapes and stuff.
I really just don't think that they'll go the demons route because of the
I just don't know anything enough about these characters, and this is why it's interesting for me, because I can watch this show not thinking about that shit.
It's brilliant.
The only investment I have in this show, and which is why I was really excited to watch it, is because I'm an X-Men fan, and as a result, I know a lot about the character of Scarlet Witch. So I was actually really disappointed. Initially, it was one of the reasons I was so hateful of Ultron when it first came out. I know a lot of people had problems with it, but I've watched The Age of Ultron recently, and it's actually quite good.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun, but I was so jaded against it.
It was more of an afternoon of Ultron.
I was so jaded against it because I thought Elizabeth Olsen wasn't a good choice for the character, and then I thought the way that the character's portrayed in that movie was so lame. But this is also back in the middle to early stages of the MCU, where we still don't know how far they're going to go with these things. Had I known where they were going to go with the character of Wanda Maximoff, I would have probably enjoyed Age of Ultron a lot sooner.
Speaking of that, then obviously the size of the MCU, we know Doctor Strange is going to appear in WandaVision.
Do we know that for sure?
But no, we don't. But I think that's the huge Luke Skywalker style cameo.
Yeah,
I think he is going because we know definitely that Elizabeth Olsen is in Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness,
and apparently she's going to be in the new Spider-Man movie as well.
Yeah, well, because that's supposedly being set in the multiverse. Because that's coming out at Christmas, and I believe Doctor Strange is August, October time, like the autumn.
Well, when's Black Widow coming out?
I honestly believe Black Widow will go straight to Disney Plus because I think it's been pushed back again because of cinemas not reopening because of COVID. Now, Doctor Strange is
a great idea. Let's put cinemas to bed. Let's put the idea of movie theaters to rest.
Yeah,
we don't need them anymore.
Dirty, smarty.
Yeah, we don't need them anymore. Yeah. When you go to the movies, right? You're like, oh, I love the feeling of going to the movies. I'm like, that's nostalgia. Let's say you go to the movies with at the most 6 friends. Invite those 6 friends over, get some popcorn, fucking put Disney Plus on, and watch the movie.
Hang on, though. The big blockbusters need to be on big screen with the THX, and if you just watch Endgame and Infinity War at home when you're on TV, I like the big blockbusters.
I think
A Quiet Place. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Now I wouldn't go watch A Quiet Place in the movie theater.
I guess that's just a matter of taste then, because to me, as much as I do enjoy the experience of things like that, like watching shit in an IMAX, for instance, I watch a movie on TV. I enjoy it all the same.
Well, okay, let's go back to the theory crafting though. Like Doctor Strange has Elizabeth Olsen.
Well, there's a reason I was asking about Black Widow. So we've got Doctor Strange is multiverse stuff. We've got Spider-Man, which is heavily hinted towards going multiverse stuff. The WandaVision, very, very multiversey. We unfortunately haven't got to see Black Widow yet, and that's why I was wondering, is there anything multiverse related to that? Because all I know about the story so far is that it is going to be kind of Quentin Tarantino-esque in that it tells us different periods of the Romanovs' life.
I don't think it is. I think it's more building up to when she became an Avenger.
Like because her sister apparently is going to be the new Black Widow moving forward, which
I hope we get David Harbour though in as
what I really want out of that Black Widow movie is a testing the water situation where if enough people love that movie enough and the ratings are high enough, then Marvel are going to be like, okay, we got to somehow bring Natasha back to life.
Well, with the multiverse, you could definitely bring back anybody.
You can bring back anyone. I'm pretty sure Captain America will be back at some point. He will.
So
the only one who's not going to be back is Iron Man. Iron Man's dead.
Until Robert Downey Jr. is like, oh, I'm a bit poor. I need.
No, because he's getting too old for this shit.
Well, we know Doctor Strange is going to have Elizabeth Olsen in it, and this is why I don't see her as the big bad of this show. Something's going to happen over the next 2 episodes. Probably the last episode, Doctor Strange will show up, and that'll be the big Luke Skywalker cameo, and he'll whisk her off. And then the next time we see her, they'll be on shenanigans in the multiverse of madness.
See, this is not what I think at all. I think what's going to happen is if he does show up in this show, it's very postscript in the chronology, very near to the end, and he's essentially like when she's on the run and like she's getting defeated, and it's like her last ditch efforts is like, what do I do? Well, she opens up the Nexus and fucking goes off to another multiverse, and Doctor Strange is a story about him having to find out what there's this multi-dimensional being that's screwing up reality again, just like Dormammu. What am I going to do? Oh, well, I'm going to go research into this, and you find out that it's...
So you think Scarlet Witch is going to be the bad guy of multiverse?
Think Loki. So, like, Loki is kind of like this good guy / bad guy when he's first introduced to us in Thor. He's a lovable, likable, complex villain that we can be sympathetic to. Mm-hmm. And then he's in the Avengers movie. He's like, he's gotten away, and he's like, everybody feels like he's on the run, and then he becomes the big bad villain in the first Avengers movie. That's what I think is going to happen with Wanda. It's the same beats. In WandaVision. In WandaVision, she is this, and then all the movies prior to that, she is this lovable, likable character that we've all gotten to know, and that and she's just struggling with who she is, and she goes the way of the villain.
Do you know
and
what's
then
funny?
She's on the run, and then she's the big bad in the next Marvel movie.
Do you know what's funny? We're probably both going to be completely wrong.
I don't think I'm wrong about her being the villain in that movie.
I think you do. I think our big bad for the next phase.
I mean, you're right. You're right in that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
none of us know.
But I believe Doctor Strange is the big cameo that
Kevin Feige and Elizabeth Olsen.
They all know.
They all come back, Dumber Dunch.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the big
Benedict Monster Munch.
I think he's going to be the big cameo, Luke Skywalker style cameo in WandaVision. I've heard that Spider-Man 3 No Way Home is a multiverse like Spider-Verse thing, and somebody made a thing today showing the Marvel starting, and it was like, would you go batshit crazy if this is how Spider-Man 3 started? And it starts doing the Marvel scroll with all the things, but it's playing Sam Raimi's Spider-Man theme over it, and I was like, yeah, I would actually go fucking batshit crazy in the fucking cinema.
Oh, you mean the Danny Elfman theme?
Yeah, if that was how Spider-Man No Way Home started with that music, I would fucking lose my shit. I'd be like, that is pretty fucking...
The only problem I have with going that route, and we're getting off of WandaVision now, but is that, like... I like Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah, but
I don't give a shit about
have you seen
the other two.
Have you seen Into Spider-Verse?
I haven't. I didn't care for it.
It was great.
I know, it's weird. I don't like peanut butter either.
I like peanut butter with jam.
But I'm just saying, it's the same thing. Peanut butter is one of those things everyone loves, and I hate it. Apparently, Into the Spider-Verse, everybody loves it, and I don't hate it. I just don't get it.
Do you know? I
don't get the lure of it.
Do you know the only thing I don't like about it is the way it's animated? It hurts my eyes.
Oh.
I'm like looking at it and I'm like, Jesus. But
anyway, I just don't get it.
To
I don't get all the hype.
WandaVision then, I don't think we're getting the Luke Skywalker cameo in the next episode. I think the next episode will be more...
You gotta stop saying Luke Skywalker cameo. Anybody who just watches right now or tunes in,
Luke Skywalker is
gonna be like, what? Luke Skywalker's in
WandaVision? But no, they said it's a Luke Skywalker level cameo from like The Mandalorian. I think next week we'll learn a lot more about Agatha and we'll.
I think we have a showdown next week, like a big climactic showdown of some kind.
No, I think that's last episode.
I think we have Quicksilver and Agatha against Wanda and Monica in a unlikely the enemy of my enemy is my friend scenario, and that's going to be the meat of the episode and the distraction essentially whilst we don't know whilst we get a reveal of what's really going on, and then the finale is more of a subdued like mind fuck. This is actually what's happening.
Me, next week's episode, if there is a showdown like that, I agree with you, but it won't be Monica and Wanda. It'll be Wanda and Vision. And WandaVision.
Oh, we know from the trailer that there is a big fight going on, and Vision will be involved in it.
And it'll be WandaVision versus other parties. I'm not going to say
parties. Well, why? What was your crazy thing that I was saying earlier? That you're like, oh, don't spoil my thing. I was talking about Vision.
Ultron.
That was
Ultron's going to be.
What? Pop. How underwhelming.
No, because we all know that, like you say, Age of Ultron was an okay movie, but he was kind of done wrong. He was.
Yeah, but he's been done. He's gone. It's. Yeah. Like, do you really want Thanos back again?
No, but there's a decent enough way to write Ultron back into
it.
And
Thanos was done good too.
Yeah.
But let me think. Do you want Malekith back?
No. But David Spade as not David Spade. David Spader as David Spade's, what's it called? Adam Sandler's friend from Tommy Boy.
Oh, you're talking about James. You mean James Spader?
James Spader, yeah.
No, it's James Spade.
Yeah, James Spade.
David Spader and James Spade.
Yeah. If he comes back and we get Ultron back, I'll be happy.
I just think there's like nothing even remotely hinting at that. I don't know where you get that from.
The whole Project Cataract is Ultron.
Is it?
I believe as
what?
well. I believe
explain that.
On Friday's episode, we also see more about when Wanda showed up to grab the body as well.
Yeah,
that was in there.
So we could do a quick. So I kind of did a little bit of a preview of the next episode, and I'm thinking we're going to have a little bit of a penultimate episode style episode. You know, think Game of Thrones. The penultimate episode is always the one which has the big set piece, and then the finale is the one that has all the bring everything together and blow your mind moment. I think that's what we're going to have
here. If they're going that way, then it'll be Wanda and Vision versus everybody, and then
kind of more like a skirmish where it's not one side against the other.
No, it'll be Photon versus Wanda and Vision.
Photon versus Quicksilver. Yeah. Wanda and Vision versus Agatha. Yeah. And maybe at the end, Doctor Strange is like, "Hey, what's going on here?
Stop." And then you're right. If that's the way they're gonna, then the last episode.
If that's where they're gonna what?
Says if that's how they're gonna do it.
Okay.
Then the last episode will be putting everybody in their positions for the next phase of the MCU.
Yeah, because everybody's like talking about like next season of WandaVision. I'm still convinced that Disney Plus Marvel shows are all going to be they're all going to be one season. Sorry.
Out of all the series that we've got, the only one that could really carry multiple series is Falcon and Winter Soldier, because they're spies.
Mm-hmm.
You could have an on-running show about spies. Loki's too big a character to leave him in a TV show.
Well, that's the thing about WandaVision. It's like no one knew what it was going to be, and now that we've got it, we're like, well, this is pretty much. This feels like not an epilogue. What's the prologue? This feels like a prologue
to Phase 5.
To Phase 4.
Is it Phase 4 or Phase 5?
The next phase.
Yeah,
it feels
phase
like
5.
a prologue to the next phase.
Yeah.
It's not... Okay, so Phase 1 is Captain America, Iron Man, Thor.
Ends in the Avengers.
Phase 2 is Captain America, Iron Man, Thor 2. Ends with Avengers Age of Ultron. Phase 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man.
Doctor Strange.
Iron Man 3, was the end of Phase 2. Doctor Strange and all that. And culminated with Homecoming and the Infinity War and Endgame.
No, I think Spider-Man was introduced into Phase 4. Endgame ended Phase 4.
Well, we can look this up real quick. I had the iPad this whole time. This is the only time I used it.
It's after all this that Feige will come out and say, I fooled you all. It's all been one phase.
Yeah, it's all been Phase 1.
MCU phase.
Phase 4.
Anyway, while he's looking into that, for anybody watching, keep an eye out for our next episode coming up in a week's time, probably 3 or 4 days of Casting Call. We are going to cast another video game because we love video games, and it's one of mine and Michael's favourite ones. In fact, I think he's streaming the second one on his Twitch channel at the moment, and that's Knights of the Old Republic. So we're going to cast that.
Yeah, I'll be playing that tomorrow.
Who we think, but we're going to be casting the first film first. We're going to go with the OG. And,
well, we can't do the second one because you've never played the second one.
I played the second one, but only once.
You don't know any of the characters.
Yeah.
Name a character.
The daft chick.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
where you only see from her nose down.
Okay, who do I choose? Who are you going to cast for Daft Chick?
Daft Chick would be some Daft Chick. Daft Nihilus as well, but he's barely in it if I remember rightly. So yeah, we're going to do Knights of the Old Republic for casting call. And that'll be out hopefully Sunday night. Michael, take us away.
Well, first of all, it is Phase 4. Phase 4 is Black Widow, Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Eternals, Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange, Loki, What If, Thor Love and Thunder, Hawkeye, Blade, and Fantastic Four confirmed. What?
No.
Well, that's wrong.
Yeah.
But the rest of it's
I tell you
Phase 4.
In my multiverse, it's Phase 5.
Yeah, okay, so that was a fan edit I got.
Yeah.
It was this, but then it had, like, Fantastic Four at the corner. So this...
Where's Spider-Man on there?
Spider-Man is what's it called? Is still not announced yet. There's still parts of Phase 4 that haven't been announced.
Well, they just released the teaser trailer.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, they did. It's Tom Holland, Zendaya.
Hold on. Are you sure that you weren't duped, though, by a fan trailer like you've already done twice to yourself?
No. Tom Holland, Zendaya, and the guy that plays Ned, and Ned's lost a ton of weight. They come out of Tom Holland comes out of a director's office, and it's like, when have I ever let anything go and all that? And they're like, all the time. You do it all the time. And they walk past a board. It says Spider-Man, No Way Home.
No Way Home teaser trailer.
Yeah. Well, why don't you watch it after the show?
Because I don't think it's a teaser trailer. It's just it's just
announcing the title.
It's yeah. But that's so on that graphic.
Coming Christmas.
Of that graphic I showed you, that wasn't not all on there. Not all of Phase 4 has been announced.
Yeah.
That's okay. But yeah, I'll have to check that out once we're done. Yeah, that's it's kind of interesting. I feel like it's a prologue for Phase 4 is WandaVision. That's how it feels to me. It doesn't feel like a TV series.
It feels like it's putting everybody in position to start Phase 4, and not in a clunky Rogue One kind of way.
You've read the Song of Ice and Fire books, right?
Yes.
So you know the very first, like, all the books have a prologue, but the very first book has the prologue of the guys going north to the wall and they get killed by the others, the White Walkers. Mm-hmm. That is what WandaVision feels like. It feels like this...
A prologue done right, you mean?
Yeah. Well, no, but that prologue in Game of Thrones is amazing.
That's what I'm saying, a prologue done right.
Yeah.
Whereas, like we're saying, Rogue One is a prologue to the original trilogy, and it feels like everybody's just been rammed into the starting positions.
No, that's a prequel to the original trilogy. This, I mean, is like a prologue to something new. This is like...
It's introducing us to magic.
Yeah, this is introducing.
In a bigger way.
It's introducing us to the next big MCU story, the Endeavor,
the multiverse,
and like, because I mean, if it all collapses and the WandaVision's over, the next season can't be called WandaVision. No. Or I mean, it could because it's a show about Wanda and Vision.
Yeah, I also believe the Loki series is based in multiverses as well.
Well, he's multiverse hopping. There's his antagonists in that show are a multi-dimensional police service who basically they police the multiverse. And I forget what they're called, but
TVA.
Apparently at some point they're after Wanda. They're after Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. So
what are they called?
The TVA.
The TVA. Yeah.
So there's a lot of multiverse in this phase at the moment. Mm-hmm. So that's where people are getting the thing from, that Spider-Man will be a multiverse.
And that's why we needed WandaVision to be like this, to be here to be like, hey, look, this is the reality. This is how multiverses work in the MCU, and I'm really happy because what did I say earlier?
Was Eternals on that picture?
Yeah. What did I say very early on about my trepidation when it comes to the way multiverses are handled and how I don't like the fact that it's going to be essentially winking at the audience saying, we acknowledge that we're a movie. We acknowledge we're a TV. And
hopefully they do it right.
They're not.
It's a multiverse inside the MCU.
The MCU is actually going to be building upon the real world scientific quantum physics understanding of multiple dimensions and multiple realities, and that to me is great because that is the principle that the MCU was founded on. It was comic book movies, faithful to comic book movies, told in a grounded, realistic setting. And if they'd have really gone into the Spider-Verse with the multiverse thing, or if they'd have gone CW, Crisis on Infinite Earths, I would have felt this is a little bit weird, a little bit janky, a little bit unoriginal. I'm so happy that they're going to be exploring the actual true world implications of what a multiverse is.
Yeah.
At least that's the impression I get from WandaVision overall. But we've got 2 episodes to go, and that's pretty much all we have to say on this one. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, so long!
See you later.